بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Alhamdulillah, inshallah ta'ala, we have another guest imam from Washington, D.C., but he's having technical difficulties logging on or getting his device to join us. So inshallah, if we cannot get it together, we'll bring him on at another time. But in the meanwhile, we have the Imam of the Bumbap, Sayyiduna wa Imamuna wa Shaykhuna Fahim Lee, and he's going to join in this conversation from prison to progress. And what our intention was here was to talk about Islam in the prison system and how it was and how brothers left from the prison and came into the society to be productive citizens. And in these cases, they became imams of masjids and communities. So inshallah, we're going to give it to Imam Fahim to start, inshallah. Naam, tafadhal Sayyidi.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Trey 45, Trey, what up? All right, let me get started. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight for this segment, inshallah. I would like to thank Imam Amin for putting this program together and keeping to his promise to do something every night, inshallah. And we thank you for your time and the blessing of your presence. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it one full of barakah for us. I mean, so basically the topic tonight is from prison to progress. And we're basically telling our stories of, how we got started on this journey as being imams and, started from prison. So I took my shahada in 1991. And I actually was in the county jail. In 1991 was the Gulf War. So I was getting Islamic perception from the media, but I had already met Muslims prior. I met some people in the Nation of Islam. I met some of the Ansar Allah people. They were in Camden. They had a community here, and so I never really knew what the teachings of Islam were. I always knew some of the outer experience. Couldn't eat pork and you couldn't dress like this and some of those things, and I thought you had to like wearing perfume was an obligation or something like that, or some of those things. But I knew the thing that struck me the most about Muslims is that they all seem to have like this real good knowledge, and they all had like impeccable mannerisms, like that was almost unbelievable. So when I finally got locked up in 1990s, the end of 1990s, just short of my 20th birthday, and so someone a friend of mine had sent me a Quran, and I ended up reading it from cover to cover. I used to kind of dabble with it on the street, but I was in the game, so I felt like it wasn't I don't have time to read these books like holy books, like you're on the street, you ain't really thinking about nothing holy, So, and so I finally, I was looking at a lot of time, I was looking at like 15, 30 years, so it was like, okay, I finally realized that, I'm not unstoppable. I'm not invincible. These, Jake done bagged me up, and now I'm looking at a lot of time. So a good friend of mine has sent me a Quran, and, I finally read it from cover to cover, and I was like impressed with it. Like it was something like I never read. And all the Muslims that I came across prior, none of them encouraged me to really like read the Quran. They gave me some books, and I used to read those books by Dr. York, Who's Who on the Planet Earth, you know, those kind of things. I ain't gonna talk too bad about Imam Amin's people,
All
you
right, I
know,
got
because
what to say. We can
yeah,
wait. You know, we can wait. Divert the smoke.
he get a little heated, you know what I mean? But so I was reading some of those books, but I never read the Quran. And when I finally read it, it started to resonate with me. Like, and one of the things that intrigued me was like every ayat was like, and Allah did this, and Allah is merciful, and Allah is kind, and you know, and I was like, this is something different, you know. And then I didn't know at the time that to become Muslim, you had to take Shahada, you know, because I always thought that I was a Muslim, in the street, you know, it was like, okay, I don't identify as Christian. I'm not going to church. So if somebody asked me my religion, I'm Muslim, but I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know anything. So, and it was funny. All these people that were so-called Muslims was talking to me about Islam, but nobody offered, to give me Shahada, and that was the most important part. I still kind of perplexed about that to this day. Until one time I ran across a brother. His brother, he was from Baltimore, and I forgot his name, man. His name was Abdul Malik. Rahimahullah. And so we talking. He asked me. He heard me talking. He see that I used to read a lot, and I was kind of different. And he said, "Let me ask you something." He said, "You got any enemies on the street?" And I was like, "Yeah, I probably got a few, but it is what it is. Nobody better not run up on me. It's going to be a problem, And then he said, "Do you owe anybody any money?" I said, "Yeah, probably somebody make a claim, but all that's dead. You get locked up. I ain't paying nobody nothing. Like, you either we gonna knuckle up because I'm not paying you nothing. You know what I mean?" But now I realize why he asked me those things. Because you're supposed to pay your debts and make Islam with people who you wrong. At that time I didn't know what he's talking about. I was on the defensive, like, yeah, I got some enemies. So what? Like, who want what? You know what I mean? And so then he just said, "Repeat after me," And I said the Shahada. And at that time it didn't hit me. And but I knew I did something special, I was praying here and there before that, but I knew at that moment that I did something special, and I knew it was something that it was sacred, And so after that point, I started praying every day. Assalamu alaikum. So after that, I started, praying every day. And I was serious about it. And then the more I was reading, the more it was becoming clear to me. You're on mute. Okay, keep going. All right. So then the more I was reading, the more it was becoming clear to me. And then there was just some things like, in the county jail, the environment is really crazy. It's like any type of way something could jump off. And I remember one of my teachers, he was involved in the jail culture real heavy. Like, one day after the Salah, he came to us. He said, "We got to strap up. That means tie your boots up. It's great to go down." So we're like, okay. At that time, you didn't ask no question. "What's up?" And he said, "Yeah, this guy owed me 10 cartons of cigarettes." And at that time, I was like, I didn't really know a lot, but I'm like, I didn't think that made sense. Like, you tell me we're going to go to war with these cancer sticks? Like, but he was the leader, but then something happened. I think they ended up paying. And at that moment, I was like, this didn't really mix. You know what I mean? So like Islam was like, even at that time, it was something pure. It was sacred that I didn't want to mix with none of that, none of that jail culture, And then another brother came to me, and before I got shipped out, he started teaching me the alphabets. And, I learned Aleph, Ba, Ta, Tha, and Jim, right? And then I ended up getting shipped out. So then I picked up on that when I got down to prison. And the prison experience was it was different, because in the county you had people coming in and out, and then there was guys that I knew it wasn't really real about Islam because I seen them on the street, and I'm like, man, you're a totally changed person in here. God, you mean to tell me you've been Muslim all this time, and I only know you from, we sniffing coke and smoking weed and drinking and all this, and now you up here reciting this holy book. I didn't get it, So then it wasn't until I met other brothers when I went to the prison, and it was a great experience. and I was rolling with some militant dudes, so they was like, watch out for these house nigga chaplains when you get down there. They gonna tell me this stuff. So I'm like, yeah, all right. I was like 20, 21. So I'm on edge. Like, and then I met Mujahid, Imam Salam, right? So he came and I was in it's called CR, it's like what is it called? Classification, where they hold you at before you go to another prison. But I ended up staying down there at Garden State. So we was down there in classification. We calling the adhan real loud. It's early in the morning. I'm in the cell, and we would take turns. So then the officer come knock on the door, like, you gotta keep that noise down. So I'm louder. Allahu Akbar, right? So then I'm finished. He said, I told you to keep it down. I said, come on in here, right? Come on in this cell. And so he went and got the chaplain. And then the chaplain came down there. So in my mind, I'm like, oh man, look at this house nigga. That's the brothers that was telling me about, right? And he said, brother, you in the cell by yourself. You're not calling anybody to the prayer. Just to, keep it down. And in my mind, I'm like, oh man, that's what they was talking about. This house nigga, man. Right? But then, it was some hikmah, just he dropped it on me like that. And then when I got in population, I talked to him often. And then I found out that he was from Camden, and then I found out that he was incarcerated as well. So we just kind of clicked. And then I just met these brothers, man, all my age. Some of them were speaking Arabic. They was reading the Quran. And it was unbelievable, man. And the brotherhood experience was just like, it was incredible, man. Like, I never experienced nothing like that. And I've been chasing it ever since. I had bits and pieces here, but that kind of brotherhood in the prison, man, when we was checking each other, we was default with hobbies, but I don't think any of us knew it. We was like, okay, you can read Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, but anything after that, you gotta know if it's authentic or not. And ain't none of us know no hadith science or nothing, you know what I mean? Nothing. But some of those brothers, they have remarkable character, and just, in jail, you start to jail with people, you find out where they come from, what they locked up for, and then you see them now. It was like a metamorphosis, yeah. And then, that's the power of Islam, to change the kind of people that we know. Because some of these people, man, like, you met some brother, you'd be like, damn, man, alhamdulillah, he Muslim, man, because this boy was a terror. Like, Allah brought us together like that. There's no other way. Any other way, we would probably end up being like enemies, scrapping with each other. And, and then we all, like, they used to call us the good brothers, because we all come to the masjid every day. And down in Garden State, we used to pray in Jamaat at least 3 times a day, every day. And I was fortunate because when I got down there, a brother from my neighborhood showed me how to move. And right soon as I got in the population, I got with the Islamic community. So I was like, before I got with any of my old people and started getting into jail culture, Allah sent that brother and put me right in with the Muslims. And then ever since then, I was down there for like 2.5 years. So I just started, practicing, praying, learning, reading, and just, thinking about, my life, you know what I mean? And how would it be? And so I didn't really do nothing spectacular, but, you kind of raise up in the ranks. They recognize somebody that's coming every day. So then they asked me to teach the Salat. And I'm like, man, then they asked me to give a khutbah, and I'm like, I don't know how to do none of that. But then it was like, you don't got no choice because we don't got nobody else. Right? And I'm like, man. So, and me, it's like, from the streets, like if you gave your word to something, you're going to give it your all. So it's the same concept. Okay, I got to do it now. So what do I need to do to make it the best, experience? So let me read these books. What do I need to know? Show me what I got to do. And okay, I give it a try. And, may Allah forgive me for those early khutbahs, man. They was, alhamdulillah, we ain't have, social media, none of that stuff. Cause, so, and I just kept at it. But then, then I was leading a prayer and I learned how to read the Quran pretty quickly. And then, but that experience, the brother experience was good. So I don't know how that went from me being an imam, but, when I first got out of jail, I was at a crossroads, and many of us know, like, you at a crossroads, is this really going to be your life, or you going to go back to what you know? Because that's all I knew was the streets. All I knew how to do was get money and, just live reckless, and you didn't care. So I was at a crossroads. And then, when I first came home, You know, a couple of guys I knew was like, yo, they used to call me Troop on the street. They're like, yo, Troop, we can get the empire back, son. Word up, man. Listen, I got you ready. And I started thinking now this experience with Islam, I'm praying. I'm like, my mindset is different now. And I'm like, nah, man, you know, that Mobb Deep song, you got shook and turned nuns. Yeah, I was like, nah, man, I can't do it, man. Like, and then I started getting mad, like offended, like, I can't even believe, man, after all this we've been through, and you know what I've been through in my case, that you would even offer me to do that. Like, at least give me a chance to get back in the mix. I'm just getting out a week, and you talking about an empire. I said, nah, I can't do it, man. And then at that point, I realized that I really had to make a 360. I couldn't mix it. You know what I mean? I couldn't be friends with those people because that was the only connection that we had was the streets. So anything else other than that wasn't real to them. It was phony. You know what I mean? And then they used to call me, nigga, you ain't gonna do that, man. How long you think you're gonna keep that up? You know what I mean? And because they saw people before that didn't really keep it up. So, and one thing, Imam Salam, this house nigga, it's like, now Imam Salam, man, Allah preserve that brother. He always kept it 1,000 with us. And one thing that he always said to me, he said, no matter what you do not stop praying. And for some reason, that just resonated with me, man. And, you know, I just never stopped praying. I didn't go back to the streets. And of course, I was young. When I got out, I was like 25. So, you know, I slipped up here and there, but I never stopped praying. And then the effects of prayer is to keep you away from the fahsha and the munkar, right? So consciously, I'm like, I can't be doing this stuff and then doing so. I was never like that type of person anyway. Like, I am who you see, you know what I mean? I would never be one way like this and then another way like this. So if I'm going to roll with this, it's going to be all the way. So then I knew I had to make some changes. So then somebody put me on with the masjid, and I just started going. I was in the halfway house, so every pass I would go and I would just pray. And then I had learned how to recite the Quran, you know, fairly well, better than some, you know. And so then people would just push me to lead the salat. You know, and every time we pray, yeah, you lead, brother. And I'm like, man, where's the imam at? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then I started attending classes with Sheikh Ali Subhan, you know, may Allah preserve him. And many of you know Sheikh Ali Subhan in South Jersey, especially Camden. He's like a pioneer, been teaching 50 years, man. He accepted Islam in 1960. So Mujahid said, go get with Sheikh Ali Subhan. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to his house. And so he's like, you married, brother? I'm like, nah, you know, I want you to go to Morocco for 12 years. So I'm like, huh? I'm like, yo, I didn't want to tell him no, but I'm like, I'm just getting home. Like, marriage is one of the plans. I ain't ready for Morocco. But he had high himma, you know, right from the beginning. That's the first thing he asked me. Are you married? No. Okay, go to Morocco for 12 years. Nothing like what's your background. He didn't care about none of that. He said, all right, I'm going to hook you up. And I wasn't ready. And I always often think about that. But I kept coming to his classes. And anybody who knows Ali Subhan, he was hard, man, a hard teacher, but he give you everything at his disposal. And so he helped me correct my mistakes in reciting and stuff and memorization. And then going to the masjid, I was going every day. So I don't even know how the imam thing came about. Next thing you know, they just, doing Jumu'ah. And sometimes the khatib wouldn't show up. So I was like, you know, I had a little experience. I was like, but I would hate to get caught and not be ready. You know what I mean? So I used to prepare a little khutbah, man, just in case. And one day it happened. They said, oh, we don't have nobody. And the brother's like, can you do it? And I was like, And then I did it. And then, you know, my first time out was a hit. You know? So, and I just kept at it. But basically, because I don't want to take up too much time, I just stayed on the journey. Really, the claim to fame was praying and being committed to the Muslims. And, you know, when I grew up, that was part of who I was, always helping people. And that's just how it happened, man. So it just escalated. Then I got married, then I had children, then these more responsibilities started coming. And I was always the type that I, you know, never back down. Like, okay, let's find a way to get over it, you know, to, you know, find a solution. And the more you take it on, the more comes. So, and that's just what happened. And Allah put me in a place to, alhamdulillah, be at the service of people, man. So that's kind of my story. So there's more, but mashallah, it's been a remarkable journey. We're still at it. So we ask Allah to spend with Allah to increase us. I mean,
yeah, inshallah, we might have to do more of this because it's definitely not enough time. Let's see if Imam Ali can we can get him up and running. Can you hear Sayyidi?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear and see me?
Yeah, so I'm going to block out. Inshallah, you take 15 minutes and give your story. Hopefully the signal is well.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm going out. I'm going to go
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. My story, the way I came to Islam, I came the long way around. I was the crown prince of Jahiliyyah and Kufa at the same time. And, I found myself over the jail, at a very young age. I was like 19, and the judge, one judge gave me a 6-year UFAC, and the other judge gave me 3 to 10. So I got 15 years, and I'm thinking that the world gonna come to an end before I get out of jail. Y'all know how it is when you're in that cell by yourself and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep and you just laying up there thinking about all this time and you're a young guy. Hey, look, and check this out. I had 15 years. All I had to do was 1 year on the UFAC and 2 years on the 3 to 9, and I'd have went home in 3 years. But I didn't know that. I knew I had 15 years. So long story short, I'm in that cell one of them nights, up in there crying to the God that I know. God, please help me. I need to get out of here. I'm going to be a better human being. And I said the right thing. I said, I ain't going to be no Christian. I'm going to try that religion our Brother Billy got. Brother Billy was in the Nation of Islam, but now it's 1975 and they in the swing with the transition. So I said, I want to be a Sunni Muslim. So long story short, now this is what actually happened. I'm working in R&D where people come in and get released. The room when you leave your cell from the jail and you go to court and you don't come back and they throw all your stuff in this room. Debo, Squirrel, and me, all 3 of us get in the room. We ain't still in there. The police let us in because we work for him. Debo took a big old Bible, the biggest Bible I ever seen. Squirrel took a Masonic book, and I took the Maulana Muhammad Ali Quran. I had it in my cell for about a year. Ramadan come around. Brother by the name of Rasan, he walk up on me. He said, Salamu alaikum, brother. I said, man, what's up? He hit me. Brother, I greet you with the most holy words of Allah, Assalamu alaikum, and you talking about something, what's up? I said, man, what's wrong with you, man? Is you crazy or something? He said, brother, you got the most holy word. You know how they hit you with that. You got the holy word, the Quran up in that cell, and you don't know what Assalamu alaikum is. They don't teach you brothers nothing. I said, man, what is you talking about? He says, you Muslim? I said, nah. He said, well, what is you doing with that holy book in that cell? I'm like, look, man, you better get your mind right because you talking crazy. But nevertheless, first day of Ramadan, he give me a shahada. I'm up DC jail, right? I'm swinging from the ceiling with my head chopped off, running around talking about Salamu alaikum, I'm Muslim, and I don't have a clue what that means. You know what Allah did? He sent me to Lawton Reformatory, the Big Pen, the next week. So I'm in the cell house with the imam. His cell downstairs, my cell upstairs. So you know who my best friend is now, me and the imam. Back then, and I say this clearly, I'm out the first generation of the second resurrection. Most people don't know what that means. Them imam training kits, we had him in the cell with us because he was plugged in to Masjid Muhammad in Washington, D.C. We had all the imam training kits. As the light shines from the east, the teachings of Imam W.D. Muhammad, the wisdom of Imam W.D. Muhammad, and that brother ain't let us watch television. So you know what we was almost all day, trapped in that cell with him, reading, studying. And my first job, I will never forget this. Y'all remember the National, the flag? I had to take the flag and I had to set the flag behind the podium and I had to stand on desk with the book. Don't let nobody in unless they sign the book. The police couldn't even come. They got to sign the book. Man, I ain't going to. I said, you're going to sign the book or you can't go in. They went and got the imam. He said, man, look, man, you can let him in. I said, you told me don't nobody come in here unless they sign the book, and he going to sign the book. So long story short, that's how I come in. You know, I came in at a period of time when all of the teachers was ex-ministers out the nation. So we had the captain down there, we had the lieutenant down there, we had the secretary down there, and like all us was on the same side, all the same walkway. So they trained us to replace them because they used to tell us, he said, man, y'all out the second resurrection and y'all gonna have to take it to the place where we couldn't take it. We brought it from the first to the second, now it's y'all turn. And lo and behold, like the brother said, that one day came when I had to get a khutbah. I ain't have a clue what I was doing, man, but I knew the Al-Fatiha. I broke the Al-Fatiha down the best I could. And it's like the brother said, I'm glad we didn't have social media back then. Yes, sir. And may Allah forgive us for the shortcomings because we sure enough made a lot in the early days. But when you be in the state joint, you be around the same guys all the time. If whatever institution you go to, it's always 5 or 6 Muslims there that was at another spot with you. And I kind of grew into leadership because everybody kept saying, man, that's Rashid's student right there. He was in the cell with Steve, man. And that thing went with me all the way through the contract prisons, CCA, all the way through the feds, all the way back through Lawton, back into the feds again. And not that you be trying to get leadership, it's that brothers trust you. Once they trust you and they know that, man, okay, this dude ain't into no stupid stuff, you're going to always find yourself Imam, Wazir, Amir Security, or the Amir of Education. Or you're going to be on the Majalis. You're not going to get away. I see you laughing because you know they're not going to let you get away, and Allah going to put you where he needs you. You see what I'm saying? And through all of that stuff right there, and what I will say is, now you got to remember, a lot that's practiced out here in the street is because we won them cases in the federal penitentiary, and a law is a law, regardless to how it get on the books. You know, the brothers in the pen laid the foundation for a lot of religious freedoms that the Muslims have out here right now. And we cannot let them forget that. You know, we can talk about, you want to talk about religious discrimination with the funds, you got to go to Forward versus Shabazz. You can't duck Forward versus Clemmer. Then you got Shabazz versus O'Loren down there where y'all was at, and it go all the way through, man. We put in so much work in that system trying to be able to practice Islam that we changed the laws as far as religion is concerned here in this country. A lot of that change came from the prison. And like when you look at the program that we have here, I have the same exact program that we had while we was in the prison. It's only 2 differences. One, we got sisters and we got babies. And that's what we always wanted. The whole time we was in there, we wanted a family. So now that's what we have out here now. We got the same library. How many of y'all remember when we used to have to carry the library to service with us because we didn't have no locker to put it in, and we had to drag the library with us? How many of y'all remember when we used to have to drag the Beta Mall? You know, them old soups and tater chips, and don't forget that old cheap Keefe coffee. Don't act like y'all don't know that Keefe coffee. you know, that cheap coffee. I see all y'all laughing because y'all know that Keefe coffee was a monster. So, you know, we had to carry all of that with us. Every time one of us would go home, what we do? We give all our clothes and all our stuff to the Muslim. Okay, we got a food beta mall back there. We got a library here. And we got the clothes closet. The same exact package that we had all the way through the system. We have it right now, except for, man, I ain't got to be in the kitchen cooking Ramadan now. I ain't got to be in the kitchen washing them big old pots and pans now, because now that's the sister's job. Not that we don't have we can't do it, but now that's what they do. They took that kitchen. You better not go in that kitchen in here talking about nothing, unless you taking some money up in there, or you taking some canned goods and dry goods up in there for them to work with. You know, but far as you going up in there talking about you gonna cook something and how to season this up, excuse me, brother. Excuse me, you on the other side of the door. You got to go back on the other side, you know. But, and I know all of us know that. All of us remember, you know, the struggles that we went through in there, and a lot of the stuff that we did in there, through your sincerity for in there, Allah prepared us to be out here. Because if it wasn't for that training in there, I would not be able to do what I do out here right now. And I'm not the only one that can say that. That Allah had us in preparation, and he had mercy on us, because it's like the ayat say, come here, man, you at the brink of the fire. Let me save you. I got a job for you. I'm going to put you out there in the street. And if you don't do right, you better remember that this penitentiary is still here, and I'll put you right back in there. And you be like, no, Allah, I don't want no more parts of that. I'm going to do right. I ain't going back in there. You know what I mean? How many of y'all made that prayer? Allah, please don't put me back in there and leave me out here. You dig what I'm saying? And this is what we do, man. You know, this is our story. This is unique to what Allah blessed us to do. And this is what I got to give to people, man. When I came out here, it was so hard to find the brotherhood that we had in there. And I went to a lot of masjids with a lot of good people, right? But man, it's something unique about that brotherhood in there, man. That, man, we'll have one bowl. I'll eat out the bowl, give it to you. You'll eat some and pass it back to me. You'll drink out the can and give him some, and we'll keep rolling. You dig what I'm saying? We'll be in the hole, and we'll have one Roman noodles, and we'll break that junk down 3 ways, and all us gonna be happy. You see what I'm saying? This is that brotherhood that we had in there that we got to bring out here, man, and get it to our people, man, because that's the one thing that we really is missing. Some of us have it. You dig what I'm saying? It's that little crew in the Jamaat that's always running together. They always cool. But man, just think, if we had everybody out here like them 10 brothers that was in the crew in the pen, that was always accountable. Man, if we had 100 of them out here in each Jamaat, man, we'd be doing what Allah intended for the Muslims to do. We'd run the planet, man. Just think about that. Them 10, because it's about 10 good ones, man, that was always there, regardless of what. That 10 is always there, man. And that's what we got to set up out here, man. We got to set up, man, that type of brotherhood and sisterhood that when we see each other, we know each other on sight. All our children playing together, going to school together, all of them sitting down, man, studying together, learning together. You know, this is something we got to do with our brothers and sisters out here. And we can do it. You know how we can do it? If you could pull it off in there and you can't pull it off out here, there's something wrong with you. Because you had to be a natural leader to lead them thieves, crooks, robbers, and everybody else that we was in the pen with. And all of us could forge a brotherhood out of us criminals. You dig what I'm saying? Man, we can pull it off. Ain't nothing to stop us but us. Yeah. I'm finished. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir, black man. That's right. Tell how it is. That's right. Yes, sir. That's right. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, that was a breath of fresh air, man. Wallahi, that was a breath of fresh air.
Hey,
beating me up.
I want you
Huh?
to know, Ali, some things ain't changed. I had me some noodles this afternoon. I had me some
Yeah.
noodles and what's the other one? I had me some fish steak. And my wife's like, "What the heck are you doing? You still eating that stuff?" I said, "Hey, I don't want to forget."
Hey, man. Look here. You know how after Juma prayer we would hook that stuff up? I had a brother named brought me over here to the house one day before I had the car. And I said, "Man, you want to get something to eat?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "All right, I got something at the house, man." He brought me home and I put the hookup up out on him out, and he looked at it and said, "Oh, come on, man." He said, "No, no." I said, "Yeah, man. This Yama Juma, we got to eat the hookup. You know, every Friday, man, we got the hookup." They don't understand that part, man. Yeah.
Imam Naeem, you
Yeah.
ready?
Always ready. Alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. You know, alhamdulillah, I'm from New York, and like, you know, when I always think about, you know, the beginning of my Islam, you know, there was a college, I think it was the United Negro College Fund or whatever like that. They had a commercial back then, right? And the commercial was like, they showed these people at this graduation, and it was like, "Man, what are you doing?" Well, they said, "Well, I got accepted to this college. I got accepted to this college." Then one person was like, "No, I'm good. You know, I'm going to take a break and then I'm going to go to college." Then they showed him like a year later and he was on drugs or something like that. That was almost me. The only difference was like after graduation, a year later, I was in prison. So, alhamdulillah, you know, I come up and, you know, I'm about the same age as all of y'all, except for you, Imam Ali. I think you are senior, right? But I come up in the 70s and the 80s. And if y'all know anything about New York during that time, you know, 5%ers was heavy, you know, it's the birthplace of hip hop. So, you know, 5%ers was heavy, you know, the Ansar Allah community was heavy, you know, Imam Amin's Jamaat, you know, his peoples, they was heavy. And actually they people, oh, there you go, Imam. Well, yeah, your Jamaat, your people, right? Had a big effect on me. Like in my mind then, I didn't know the different sects or the different, you know, types of so-called Islam and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't like studying for it that deep, but long story short, I remember being in Queen's house, you know, in New York City. If you get arrested, you know, they got like, well, any other places like the county jail, but New York is so big. You got Queens House, Brooklyn House, in Manhattan. You got a few of them, the Tombs and some other spots, the Bronx House, whatever. And then usually you spend some time there, then go to Rikers Island, and that's you get sentenced or whatever. Then you go. So I'm in Queens House, and because I think the influence of the 5%ers, I had been stopped eating pork a long time ago. And so now I'm in jail, and my father tells me, he says, you know, tell them that you Muslim so you don't have to eat no pork. I was like, okay, I ain't think nothing about it. So I'm talking to one of my mans from the street. I'm thinking, like, you know, I'm thinking about becoming Muslim. I didn't know nothing about Islam. It's just, I'm thinking about becoming Muslim. He 5%er, right? Check what he does. He was like, "Oh, I can help you with that. I'll help you out with that. I'm Muslim, right?" So we go in this. He's like, "First, you got to memorize the supreme mathematics. So you got knowledge, wisdom, understanding, coach freedom, power refinement." He's telling me all this stuff, right? And I'm listening. I got the pen and paper out, and I'm writing this stuff down, right? Alhamdulillah, a Muslim brother that I didn't even notice before sees all that, sees and hears what's going on. He must be air hustling, right? And so he says, he comes, he said, "I heard y'all talking. You mind if I interject?" I was like, "Sure, come on in. What's up?" He was like, "You Muslim?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Assalamu alaikum." I said, "Yeah, peace," right? And so he was like, "You make salat?" I was like, "Make some what?" He's like, "Do you make salat?" I said, "Make some what?" And I guess he figured that I wasn't Muslim. He said, "Do you pray?" I said, yeah. You know, I pray all the time. And so he said, you know, in Muslim, we pray. And we pray 5 times a day, and we pray and we say this in our prayer. And he said something in Arabic. I'm assuming he said the Fatiha. I didn't remember. And then he says, ain't a lot of Muslims here, but most time, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be going to the island, meaning Rikers Island. There's a lot of Muslims there. They strong. You need to get with them. And so we start talking. What you bring here? I fell off. I wasn't doing the right thing. I was Muslim in the streets. I started drinking. I'm like, you drink? What you drink? And so I tried to take the conversation somewhere else, but alhamdulillah, he brought it right back to Islam, right? And so alhamdulillah, I took his advice, right? And even in Queen's house, there was another Muslim that used to run with us and do dirt with us. He ain't never give me no dawah. And I used to see him making salat at the end of the tier and everything. But this one brother, his name is Nigel, right? He came and gave me that dawah and gave me some instructions. I think that's an important part. He gave me instructions, and that's exactly what I did when I went to Rikers Island. I went to C-73, and I basically said, where the Muslims at? And long story short, they gave me Shahada. So start learning, just I just wanted, like Imam Ali said, this is what we used to think. I just want to be a good person. I want to come home and have a family. That's it. So, I remember one time it's amazing how Allah works. I remember it took me exactly 14 days to learn Al-Fatiha in Arabic, right? And this is after studying. I stopped going to rec and everything. And it was a dorm setting that time. I'm just reading a prayer pamphlet. I think I showed you. I made a copy for sentimental purposes. I found it, right? I'm reading a prayer pamphlet. Right after I finished learning Al-Fatiha, all the brothers that was in the dorm with me got transferred. Some went upstate, some went home, some went transferred to other jails, other parts of Rikers Island or whatever. And so I remember the only thing I know is Al-Fatiha, and ain't nobody to lead me in prayer. I ain't know what to do. So I was like, I don't know if it's right now, but I'm going to make my whole prayer reading this pamphlet. And so I was in the dorm with a lot of people from around my way, and I always remember this, and a lot of them is 5%ers too. And so I remember that I'm about to make salat in the back of the dorm, and one of my peoples, he said, yo, everybody shut the F up. Shut the F up. Now I'm about to make salat. So everybody got quiet for me to make salat, like 50 people in there, right? I like subhanAllah, right? So alhamdulillah, long story short, I learned the rest of my salat before I went upstate. And it was this brother named Saeed, who by that time I was sentenced and I was in C-74, and we wouldn't just wait till the jail had classes, because, in New York State, there's always New York City and New York State, every jail and prison got a room that's usually dedicated only for the Muslims, and that's the masjid. So, and depending on the jail administration and all that, some jails and prisons have classes every day, some once a week, twice a week, or what have you. So I don't remember then. I think C-74 had like 2 or 3 classes, something like that, a week. But this older brother named Saeed, he came in the dorm with us, and it was just a whole bunch of us, basically new shahadas that was all somewhere and either just finished learning salat or don't know the whole salat yet, don't really know too much about Islam. And so in the dorms on Rikers Island, they had this room where I think the intention behind the room is if somebody had like a visit from a lawyer, they would go there, but they didn't use it for that. It was just an empty room that they had there. And so Saeed talked to the COs and had it where we can have classes in those rooms every day. And so we will be having classes in those rooms every day and going to the masjid in the jail to have classes. So it was there in C-74 that I learned the rest of my salat. I learned, a lot of basic things about Islam, all of what we thought at the time was basic. Don't say foreign iron, because there was no traditional Islam, I never heard foreign iron until like a decade and a half later, right? So, but what we thought was the Mubadi package, that's what it was. The Mubadi package, that undercover Wahhabi booklet, right? But we learned our belief from that. And so The amazing thing about that, I remember going upstate after that situation, and maybe about 6 months later, I'm upstate. I'm in Green Correctional Facility, and all the Muslims and all the people that's coming from C-74, they keep talking about this Muslim dorm. I'm like, Muslim dorm? What are you talking about? Muslim dorm. It's a dorm where you got to be Muslim to be in. All right, because there ain't no dorm like that. Where? The 4 building, C-74. No, it ain't. I just left there a few months ago. I start asking people, asking around, and it turns out that the COs that worked the regular shift in that dorm we was in, they were so impressed with us having classes every day and everything like that, that 2 of them took Shahada. 1 took Shahada while I was there, but I heard 2 of them took Shahada, and they went to the administration, and they had it where that was a Muslim dorm. You had to be Muslim to go to that dorm. So they had congregational salats and everything like that. And I heard that lasted for about maybe a year or so. And I forgot some Negro nonsense happened, and they messed that up, and so they scattered everybody around. But subhanallah, that was amazing. Before I came home, subhanallah, I remember years later on, I got in some trouble, had to go to the box for like 6 months, Ogdensburg, Southport Correctional Facility. That I don't know if it's still like that, but Southport is the whole jail is locked down. The whole jail is the box or solitary confinement. You either in there for some offense, and you got at least 5 months box time or more, or you in PC, protective custody. That's the only way you could be in that prison. So I remember I was in there, and the Spike Lee's movie Malcolm was coming out, Malcolm X. And so they was doing a whole lot of promotion and all that kind of stuff. My mother used to always send me all the magazines, Ebony, Jet, Essence. And so I'm reading all this promotional stuff. It was during that time that I read that Wesley Snipes said he was a Muslim. I don't know if he was done with your people's Imam, because I know he had some connection with them. Your Jamaat, the Ansar community, right? But he said something deep, that's crazy. But he said that his brother convinced him to become Muslim. And he said that when his career blew up and he got big, his brother, and he said he was still practicing Islam. And he said his brother came back to him and said, "Why are you still practicing this Islam stuff?" He's like, what you talking about? He said, that was in Essence magazine. He said, "Brother, Islam is like a boat. You needed the boat to get to the other side of the river. In other words, to give you the discipline and what you need for your career and your acting and stuff like that. You made it now. You don't carry the boat with you on land. You leave the boat where you at and keep going." And so he said that's when he stopped practicing Islam. I remember reading that in solitary confinement. It was in Essence magazine. But in any case, this movie Malcolm X is coming out. And so I asked my mother to send me Roots and Malcolm X, those 2 books by Alex Haley, Roots and Malcolm X. So she sends it to me. And I remember reading both of those books during the month of Ramadan while I was fasting in solitary confinement. And at that time, there was no halal food. So you just had to take whatever meal they normally served and hold the food, whatever food you can, until time for iftar, and eat that and save some for suhoor and do the same thing. So I remember, I know what it is about those books, but at that time I didn't know what it was, but that motivated me to start studying and reading a lot. See, before then I was just going to classes, just like to go to class. I wasn't like trying to learn nothing. I was just trying to learn what I thought was obligatory, to Salat or whatever. That's it. I wasn't taking knowledge serious. But by the time I read those 2 books, when I got out of Southport and went to Elmira, I was trying to read everything. And so my classification drops. I end up in Ogdensburg, which is a medium correctional facility. Same in New York, you got classifications. Minimums, mediums, you in dorms. Maximum, you in cells. So when I caught that offense, my classification went up to maximum, And so when I got out, I went to a maximum Elmira. And so, you know, I stayed out of trouble for a while. My classification went back down to a medium. So they shipped me to a medium jail, prison. And that's Ogdensburg, right on the St. Lawrence River, looking at Canada, literally. And so I'm in there. Alhamdulillah, the brothers that were there, they were serious about knowledge. And, you know, there was always classes, and that was the prison that I learned how to read and write Arabic from. And my Arabic teacher, his name was Amin. And he used to be in your Jamaat too. I've been meaning to ask you privately because I just remembered his government name. I want to see if you know him. But anyway, he taught us Arabic, and he used the same breakdown that Dr. York used too. Teach you all the forms at the same time and all that stuff, right? But anyway, I remember the imam got locked up. He got in a fence, and they had him like on restriction. He couldn't come to the masjid. And so he told me to give the khutbah, right? I was shook, right? I went and told, I just straight up lied. I was like, Imam says you got to get a khutbah, right? He said, okay, alhamdulillah, right? Turns out the Imam, he got off the restriction. And so when we at the masjid talking, and Imam, was like, alhamdulillah, you out. I ain't got to get a khutbah. He's like, what you mean you don't have to get the khutbah? I told Naeem to get a khutbah. He said, Naeem told me that you said for me to get a khutbah. And I'm standing right there. I'm like, oh. Well, I was just too scared. I told her I lied. I told her to get a khutbah, right? So I avoided giving the khutbah in that jail. I got transferred to another jail, another prison, and they trapped me into giving the khutbah there. And only thing I remember about that khutbah was that after I learned how to read and write Arabic, the first surah that I started memorizing was Surah Mu'minun, surah number 23. So I remember giving the khutbah from that. And then I go into Watertown. This is the last prison I was in before I came home. And a lot of things open up to me. I'll just mention a couple before I finish. As soon as I go to, it's always understood that if you're a real practicing Muslim in prison, as soon as you touch down, the first place you go is to the masjid or wherever the Muslims are gathering at, right? So put down my stuff, and they correct, I'm headed to the masjid. As I'm walking across the yard to go to the masjid, I see Saeed, that same older brother that taught me the rest of my salat and all that kind of stuff. And I see another brother that I was in the last prison with, where I gave that khutbah at. And they both see me at the same time. They walking towards me. And one brother's like, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. And Saeed is like, Sheikh? Oh, Sheikh, whoa. So we all, what's going on? Hi, Assalamu alaikum, whatever, long time. You still in? Yeah. He says, so I see you done, upgraded. He called you Sheikh and stuff. I'm like, nah, I don't know nothing, whatever. And so he started quizzing me. Do you know this? You know this? You know that? I'm like, oh, a little bit. Man, stop being humble, man. Do you know it or not? Right? Yeah, yes, I know it. All right. So he said, good, because I used to be the imam, but I'm going home now. This brother's the imam, and we need help. So within like 3 days, just like Imam Ali said, I was the muezzin. I was in charge of the library, right? And I think about a week after that, the Wazir Education, he got sat down. I became the Wazir of Education, and they have what's called the Inmate Liaison Committee. Basically, usually people associate with them Uncle Toms and stuff like that, where you deal with grievances and you try to talk to the administration on behalf of the prisoners and stuff. But they had openings on the executive committee, right? And so we said, okay, good. We got you. You practicing Muslim. We got to plug you in. So within a week, they had sent words around the prison. There's a brother named Naeem in your dorm. Vote for him for the ILC, right? Democracy, right? So I had Latin kids coming in. Yo, Papa, what, you Naeem? Well, all right, yeah. What's your name? All right, yeah. Everybody getting their name. So they all voted for me. Then once I got voted on the ILC, I got put on executive committee. I think I was a secretary or something. So now I got a pass. I could walk around the whole jail when I want. So that was the whole purpose for that. they in prison, you got like gangs and organizations. You know, they always have treaties and, you know, they keep the peace in the prisons of how things operate. So fast forward, I spent a year there, and I remember we would put in these videotapes of, you know, like Sheikh Abdullah Hakim Quick, Imam Siraj Wahaj. And I remember every time they would put in a videotape of Imam Siraj Wahaj, it will always be some brother like, yo, that's my Imam! That's my Imam! Yeah! I'm like, yo, calm down, brother. Hey, it's all right. It's all right. We understand. Right? So I remember just by the reaction of the brothers, I was like, when I come home, I'm going there. Right? Master Taco, that's in Brooklyn. I live in Queens, but I'm still going there. And they used to always tell us that as soon as you go home, the first place you go is the masjid. And also, you coming home from prison, people are not going to trust you. A lot of people that come home from prison, they break in the Sadaqah box, they rob the masjid, they do all of this kind of stuff. So a lot of brothers a lot of people not going to trust you all. You need to expect that. Whatever. So I had all these things in my mind. And so when I came home, I literally, before I went home, I got off the bus, got on the A train, and went straight to Masjid Taqwa. And subhanAllah, he might even be watching now. I met a brother named Jihad. And it was funny because I got these things in my mind. So I'm not trying to advertise that, you know, I was in prison before. And he's literally standing right in front of the door of the masjid as I was walking in, him and a brother named Bilal. And so I'm walking in the masjid, Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Hey, brother, we ain't never seen you around here before. Where you from? Like from Queens. Alhamdulillah, you been Muslim? How long you been Muslim? I said, I've been Muslim about 4 years. How come we ain't never seen you before? You know, I just, you know, whatever. And I was like, well, you've been Muslim all the time. Why we ain't never seen you before? So I'm trying to give answers without lying and stuff. Yeah, I said, brother, you just came home? I said, yeah. He said, alhamdulillah, where you coming from? I'm like, Watertown. He's like, I was there. I'm like, oh, Allahu Akbar. So, you know, that's how I came home. And again, my intention wasn't like being the imam and nothing. I just wanted to be a family man, get married and all of that. But right after that, I met another brother. And he had just came home. And he was like, you know, you can volunteer on Rikers Island. I'm like, I just came home. I can't volunteer on Rikers Island. He said, how much time you did? I'm like, I did 4 years. He said, when was the last time you was on Rikers Island? I don't know, about 3 years ago, something like that, 3.5 years ago. He was like, you can go. The requirement is that you couldn't have been arrested in New York City and been in the city jail within the last year. Well, you've been upstate all that time, so you legally qualify. And so I actually filled out the application, did the requirements and whatever, and I started, you know, volunteering again, you know, volunteering on Rikers Island and teaching and giving classes, as well as, you know, having classes with Imam Siraj and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, that was a summary of my Islam and my transition to the streets. Obviously, a whole lot is left out because we don't have time for everything, but alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, maybe if we're available again this week, maybe even if tomorrow, if everyone's available, we'll work it out afterwards, that we can continue, because 1 hour is not enough time, and we had some technical difficulties. So if it's possible, tomorrow or the next day, we can continue, because then we can have some conversations, and I'll tell my 2-minute story. Right, so inshallah, we'll wrap up. So because we said we would be from 8 to 9, I don't want to extend more than the people need. So inshallah, are y'all available tomorrow? Maybe we can find out. Or tomorrow's a rough day at this time.
I'm ready.
Tomorrow's Thursday, right? Unless my wife wants to change the time to our Hafi Deen show. She's listening. I don't know what she's going to say. Malik Robinson says keep going.
Please, I don't think she's going for that. Or one day we'll just come back next week then. Inshallah. If that's not, maybe we'll do it this time next week again and continue. And we'll schedule it for a 2-hour session so people can ask questions. That works?
That'll work.
Next week, yard out.
Next week, yard out. So what's today? Wednesday? So next Wednesday, we'll go from 8 to 10, inshallah.
10 o'clock is bad time for me. You know, I gotta
Oh,
pick
that's all
my
right.
granddaughter up.
It's 7. It's
Yeah.
7 good? Can we start at 7?
Yeah. Yeah, 7 to 9 is
7
good.
to 9.
I mean 7 to 9.
Naeem, that's good for you, right?
What day?
Wednesday.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's good, okay? Next Wednesday, 7 to 9, we'll continue. And we'll open up, we'll make it a 2-hour special session. All right, Barakallahu bikum. Inshallah, we'll close out. Bisir Asrar al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Barakallahu bikum.